Watch Jefferson climbs the ladder. Oh my goodness!
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Run Pure Sports Strokes Gained Show. I'll be your host tonight, Red Kachik. We'll be previewing the FedEx St. Jude Championship, the first leg of the FedEx Cup playoffs on the PGA Tour. I'm joined tonight by Snyder and Locks, and it should be a little bit more concise show. We only got 70 guys in the field, so that makes it a little bit nicer for handicapping purposes for DFS. Obviously, we'll make the contest a little tougher with everybody getting 6 of 6 through. So I'll bring in Snyder first. How's everything going for you, man? If you guys want to talk about last week, you're more than welcome to. I don't really want to talk about my last week. It was a lot of flop lag that didn't happen. No, there was just more flop.
Yeah, I had a pretty good week DFS-wise. I had two guys that were live to win the event. I had 60-1 on Horschel. And I had Henley 20-1, I believe. Luckily, I was able to hedge out on Glover to eke out a small profit. But I knew Horschel didn't have the stones after he teed off on number one. I was like, this ain't going to go well for him. And then Henley kind of ran into some bad luck after the weather delay. He bogeyed every single hole coming back from weather delay, which was kind of wild to see. But, looking forward to this week. We finally got all the studs are back in the field here. Excited to see Scotty back in the field and some of these other guys as well.
Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, like from the outright position, I think Henley was about as easy as a click as possible last week. Obviously being one of the favorites, but with his course history and everything, and just came a little bit short there. I think fell 2 shots back. And the other lock was Denny McCarthy, and that did not pan out. So we might get a little bit of flop lag here this week. So, Locks, how was your week last week? Anything better or worse than me and Snyder, or somewhere in the middle?
I don't know. It was okay. I didn't have a huge loss, just a slight loss last week. Like I said, Denny McCarthy killed me. I went to the Denny side. I played him 100%. Kind of smoked all my lineups right there. So, a couple 5 out of 6s at play, so I didn't lose too bad, but it is what it is. I'm excited for the playoffs. I love the playoffs. I'll watch most of it. For the most part, I'll even watch it at work on my other computer. So, just excited to dive in. I love these next few weeks here, next month really. So excited to dive in and hear this course preview and get started.
Yes, the FedEx Cup playoffs are interesting. They obviously have transitioned a little bit over the last 10 years or so, but it definitely seems like guys get into, get a win or two in the playoffs and they can go on and win the FedEx Cup. We've seen that with Billy Horschel, Bill Haas, like no names in the past. Last year, obviously a huge lead by Scheffler, who blew it at the Tour Championship, but I think we'll see a bit more of the same this year with some of these top guys doing well and then and pretty much having a pretty strong lead going into the Tour Championship. So I guess I will kick it over to you, Steiner, if you want to preview a little bit of TPC Southland. I know they only saw it last year for the first time in this event, but I'm pretty sure we've seen this course before a handful of times. But let's hear your course preview on what we want to look for here.
Yeah, for sure. I'll break it down a little bit here. We have played here at TPC Southwind for quite a while here. This will be the first event of the playoffs here this week. It's a par 70 measuring 7,243 yards. Golfers are going to see some smaller greens here, measuring only at around 4,300 square feet on average. These Bermuda grass greens will be rolling at around 11 on the stem. The rough will be playing at around 2.5 to 3 inches in length here. Golfers are going to see water in play on 11 holes this week. This is a ball striker's track here. I will be targeting mid to long iron play here. I think that'll be needed quite often here. The smaller greens will be tough to hit here as well. Last year, the greens regulation percentage was only 62%, which was much lower than the tour average. The 2 proximity buckets I'll be focusing on mainly this week will be 175 or 150 to 175. Where 23% of the shots came from last year, and then 175 to 200, where 22% of the shots came from last year. So I think this has been a track where bad putters have had decent success at, as it's right around 5% less strokes gained putting than the tour average event. So bad putters can do all right here. The fairways here are very narrow. They rank inside the top 10 for the most narrow on tour, at right around 25 to 27 yards wide on average. Some of the other key stats we're looking at this week: strokes gained approach, strokes gained off the tee, good drives gained, emphasized around the green, and then opportunities gained.
You say these were the second narrowest fairways on tour?
They're in the top 10.
Top 10, yeah. And there's water, right? Like, it's not just narrow with rough; it's narrow with a bunch of water.
Yeah,
I think Berger's won here before, right?
I think that reminds me. Yeah, I mean, hopefully he comes back next year.
I know.
He used to like playing him.
Yeah, I mean this golf course. So I'm just pulling up really quick. I got stats all the way back to 2014. So they basically have played this course every year for the last 10 years. Just not this event in the playoffs. So that's really the big piece there. Locks, do you have any thoughts on the golf course? I mean, honestly, it's a pretty straightforward golf course. Like Snyder mentioned, obviously driving it in play is hugely important, but we definitely see guys that have played well here get with the hot putter. It's definitely one of those that leans the Bermuda, splits a little bit. So, I mean, it takes the total package. We kind of talked about that last week. Like, yeah, you got to hit a decent off the tee and into the greens, but you really got to light it up on the greens once you get there. So I think we'll see more of the same this week, which will be interesting as we talk about the high price guys here in a second. But I want to give you a second if you had any thoughts on the golf course.
Yeah, not much. You guys pretty much hit the nail on the head. I mean, ball striking is just going to be absolutely monster for me, I think, in my opinion, this week. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on huge. Obviously, yeah, putting. Yes, bad putters can win here, obviously, but ultimately it comes down to putting. You got to make putts to win tournaments. So, I mean, in all honesty, I still want a good putter regardless. Yeah, can a guy like Scheffler outdo his bad putting? Of course, because the guy's just so good otherwise that it doesn't affect him as much. But there's only a handful of guys that you can say that for. So other than that, yeah, I'm still going to be looking at putting as well.
Yeah, I mean, especially with a small field, obviously the upside with putting is going to be a huge deal. Like you can't really go take a value that maybe like a Luke List that's been decent off the tee and on approach. And I don't even know if he's been decent recently, just using him as an example because he can't putt. There's not a lot of upside if you can't putt. Yeah, just looking back a little bit. So the last couple of years prior to last year's St. Jude Championship, what we're talking about this week, it was actually a WGC earlier in the year. So it actually was a pretty strong field if you go back and look at the results in 2020, 2019, and 2021. So pretty strong field to kind of comp it to see how some of these guys have done, which a lot of these guys have done pretty well, John Rahm specifically. So we can go ahead and touch on the top range to get it done. Like we talked about, there's only 70 guys in the field. As we get down into the 6K range, it's obviously going to drop off a little bit relative to the top with such a strong field. So we'll try to find some nice values for you to play. But honestly, there's such a big drop off in talent. I struggle in the 6K range, but we will get there. So I'll kick it to you first, Snyder. 10K range, we got Scotty Scheffler up there at 12-1, grading out extremely well. Like Locks just said, putting is not cooperating for him or anybody that's been rostering him of late. Rory McIlroy continues to play great. He's at 11-5. John Rahm is at 11-1. And then we have Victor Hovland at 10-2 and Xander Schauffele at 10K. So it's almost like an 11, 12K range with those three. And then we have the 10K range with Hovland and Schauffele. It's definitely a difference in salary there. So who are you leaning to here? Can Scheffler keep the ball striking stats going? He probably can. And make a few putts on Bermuda this week. Or are we going to go save some salary here?
Yeah, I think this might be the first time I'm not like heavy overweight on Scheffler this year. I think he's going to come in right around 20-25%. It's pretty easy to get to him if you want to dip into the 6K range with the no-cut event. I'll still be playing him a little bit, but not as much as I have been. But he can get that putter going here. I mean, you look at his greens and regulation percentage over the last 3-6 rounds, which I have pulled up right here. I mean, he's hitting the greens and regulation at 76%, which is just towering over the other guys in this top tier range, where you got like Xander at 67%, Rory's only at 67%. So he's definitely hitting the ball the best, but that flat stick's definitely holding him back. I'll have some of him But I think I'm going to be going to Rahm at 1K cheaper. He's got better course history here. Scheffler hasn't done the best here for the price, but then you look at Rahm, he's got a couple finishes inside the top 7 here. So I think Rahm will be the guy. I'm not going to be super overweight on any of these top tier guys, so I think this week I kind of like dipping down into the more balanced build this week. Just try and stack up as many birdie makers as I can, but definitely on Rahm 1, Scheffler 2. I'll be off Rory, off Hovland, off Xander. I think Hovland's going to see some ownership here, maybe 10 to 15%, but I don't think he's shown anywhere near the upside in the course history here or his recent form to justify that a 10.2K price tag when there's guys cheaper than him that have been playing far better, I feel. So I'm going to be off him. And, Xander's always playing these no-cut events really strong over the last few years, but don't think I'm going to get to him at the 10K price tag, but just Rahm Scheffler mainly for me.
Yeah, I like that. The more I look at it, it's two different tiers, but I mean, honestly, the Hovland Schauffele kind of drops into the 9K tier. You kind of view them as the same thing, and they're not really worth spending up for relative to like the lower and mid 9K or even in the 8K range as we get down into the 8s and the 7s. So, Locks, any thoughts on this top 10K range? Is Scheffler, McIlroy going to be people you build around, or I guess I could throw Rahm in there after his good finish at the Open Championship, but. There is a pretty big drop off between Scheffler and McIlroy down to Hovland, Schauffele. Are you going to go balance this week? Maybe talk about lineup construction a little bit, or are you going to spend up with Scheffler, McIlroy because they have been so good tee to green? I mean, they kind of have separated themselves, to be honest, in every single category.
Yeah, and that's actually a good point. I'm glad you actually asked me that because I was going to talk about that regardless. I've been just toying around with lineups already this week. And I could easily see myself fading all 5 of these guys, taking them all out, not playing any single one of them, just having major leverage at that point because I feel like a ton of ownership is going to be up here too. And just starting because I like the 8K range a ton. The low 9K range is, solid as can be. I could build all my teams right there and be completely happy this week. So there's a horse apiece. I think I'll build some both directions, honestly. I'm just going to hand build probably 10 this week, in all honesty. So I'm probably going to do it that way. You can build Scheffler and McIlroy. I've done it and still have a plenty fine team and build it out okay. So you can go a lot of different directions. I'm leaning more towards, if I had to choose, I'm going to fade these top guys. The first week of the playoffs, I'm okay not spending up in this range. I'm just going to X all 5 of these guys out comfortably and start my builds right around the Fowler and on down to like McCarthy and build that way. Just a lot of different ways there.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, looking down in the 6K range. So, the way we'll get there here shortly, but the way I kind of look at it is I'd almost view the top 6K range as, in play, and then under 6K, under 6,500 as the real 6K range where you kind of sprinkle them in if you want to. You don't have to because I don't see a ton of upside in the low 6K range. It's really just kind of high 6s. And with that being said, if you're going to play in the high 6s, then that allows you to pay up for a Scheffler or McIlroy. If you don't want to touch the 6K range, you can't make it work. You would just basically be jamming McIlroy in and a $70, $100 player the rest of the way in. So, this is obviously one of those stronger fields where balance can do really well. You could get 6 guys inside the top 10 and do really well in GPPs because honestly, with how strong the field is, balance makes a lot of sense. We've seen Millie Makers won in the U.S. Open, the Masters with very balanced builds with nobody over 10K. So you kind of make a good point just because the salary gets so constrictive with a smaller player pool we already have. It makes it easier to fine-tune the player pool. But with only 30 guys in the 6K range, you can't really get too creative. You're going to fall into a lot of the same lineups that everybody plays if you jam in Scheffler and another 9K guy or something like that. So the way I'm kind of looking at it, I really don't like Hovland or Schauffele. I think at 10-2 and 10K, you're really on the cusp of just, going all in on Scheffler or McIlroy and Rahm. Still kind of debating on Rahm just off of his Open finish and his course history here, which, like Snyder said, has been fantastic. I think he has 4 or 5 straight top 7s. I think Scheffler's really interesting. I'd like to see how the ownership shakes out between him and McIlroy, and I would pick one. I wouldn't play both in my player pool. I would take one and just take a stand, play 50% of them in my lineups. And that's kind of the way I would view it. Scheffler just scares me to fade. McIlroy is one of those weird ones where like his finishes are good, but he doesn't scare me at 11-5. He's not like a Scheffler for some reason. So that's kind of where I stand. I think I'll fade Victor Hovland and Schauffele. I'll play some Scheffler or McIlroy depending on which one, and I'll post that in the player pool, depending on which one kind of shakes out as an ownership leverage spot. And then Rahm, I'm still undecided on, so to be continued. I'd like to see if he does come in under owned because McIlroy is right above him, because just Rahm has underperformed for most of the year. So that is where I stand. I think we're pretty much on the same page except for Locks, who likes the balanced build. So if it's all right, Locks, I'm going to lead off with you. Yeah, go ahead.
I would, Drew. I would just say if I'm going to play up here, like I said, the only guys I would play is Scheffler and McIlroy, and I would do it in the same lineups, mixed lineups.
Perfect
that way, but they're going to be in my pool. Like I said, I'm not going to cross those two guys out. I just prefer the other way. But I'm not going to play Rahm, Hovland, or Schauffele at all.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, I mean, the way I would view it, and again, it's such a strong field, so you can kind of make this argument pretty easily when it's a strong field. But like if you say McIlroy, saves $1,000 down to Victor Hovland, okay, it saves a little bit. But now you view Victor Hovland and Ricky Fowler in the same category. I mean, that's another $800. Yeah. You're saving a lot of salary. You're like $2,000 saving off the salary cap. Like it really drops off quick in the 9K range versus Victor Hovland's on the edge of like, it doesn't really make sense. Like, why would I save salary off of Scheffler to play Hovland when I could just save another, $700 and play some of these 9K guys? Because they are playing very, very good golf, which is half the battle into the playoffs is who's playing the best. Like I said, Billy Horschel and Bill Haas have won the FedEx Cup playoffs. Nobody would ever pick them at a given year. I don't know what their odds would be, plus 200 to 1 or 200 to 1. So, yeah, it could get pretty crazy with some of these mid-price guys. So, with that being said, actually, I'll lead off with Snyder here. Hopefully, you've had a second to look through this, and with the thoughts of going with, playing Scheffler, you probably can play one of these 9K guys and not break the bank yet. So, where are you looking at in this 9K range? Honestly, a lot of them have been playing great, except for Spieth. I think Spieth's been playing by far the worst, and everybody else in here has been pretty decent.
Yeah, I think up top I'm going to be fading Cantlay. I haven't been playing him any this year really, and his course history here isn't that good. His recent form isn't the best. He didn't play that well overseas. 9.8's too much for me. I will play some Hatton here. He has been playing well on these type of courses. His around the green game's been good. His putter's been right there. He's been one of the better tee to green guys so far recently too. So I'll go to him. I'd rather play Hatton than like Cantlay and Fowler. Fowler kind of lost a little bit of his mojo going overseas. I know he won the Rocket Mortgage, but his course history here hasn't been the best either. So 9,500 for Fowler just seems a little too much. But I mean, he's a guy I usually don't play that much of anyways. And I would rather go down to like Fleetwood, Morikawa. I think they have just as much upside as those guys above them. And it looks like they're going to be, I think Morikawa is going to come in. It looks like pretty low owned, like maybe 11 to 13, 14% it looks like. So I like the upside there. He's got good course history here too. He finished 5th here last year. He was 2nd at the Rocket Mortgage, and he really didn't play that bad at the Open. He had a couple of bad tee shots on those weird holes where the out of bounds was like 3 yards off the fairway. I know he hit 2 out of bounds on one hole. It kind of set him back for the week there on Thursday. Wasn't really ever able to make the cut there. He missed the cut on the number, I believe. So I think he's one of the best off the tee and greens and regulation as well. He's hitting fairways at 72% clip over his last 36 rounds, hitting greens and regulation at around 73% as well. So I love the ball striker he is there. I think he's going to be a guy I kind of play. I made 2 outrights this week yesterday. One of them was Morikawa at 25 to 1. One of them was Sam Burns at 35 to 1, which we'll get into a little bit later. But and Fleetwood's just been playing so good at golf. He doesn't really have much win equity because he always seems to choke, but he's got a ton of top 10 equity. So really like Fleetwood and Morikawa at 9K and 9,100 versus like the Cantlay, Hatton, Fowler, Spieth guys there. Just just as soon save the salary there and kind of jam more of those guys in.
Yeah, I like that. Actually, I think Morikawa is probably my favorite play in this 9K range. And the more I look at it with his ownership, it might be one of the best on the slate.
Yeah.
Especially if Big T was here, because he would talk him down and that would help him even more. Keep dropping the comments. So I'm reading through the comments here on YouTube. Please hit the like button if you haven't already. Yeah, I see Matt Fitz comment, and then Myron Kid. Cantley is being talked up a lot in the industry, definitely fading him. Yeah, I think Cantley is one of the best guys to finish in the top 15 in a given week, and he's one of the worst to finish in the top 3 unless it's like the Amex or something like that. So I am with you there. I'll be fading Cantley at the price. Like I said, it just drops off so quickly as you get to get off of Rahm down into the high 10s and the high 9 or the low 10s and the high 9s. So I'm really leaning Morikawa. Locks, what are you thinking here in the 9K range? And then I'll give a few more thoughts on guys that I think are worth playing here.
Yeah, for me in the 9Ks, I like quite a few guys here actually. Seeing as I don't like a lot of the top 5, I do like a lot of guys here. Morikawa is definitely one of my favorites. I'm with you guys there. I like Morikawa and Fleetwood. Probably 2 of my favorites here. The other 2 that are right there neck and neck with them is Fowler and Hatton. Just guys that have been striking the ball so well all year, playing such great golf tee to green. These are 4 guys I'm going to have a bunch of. And then the other 2 guys I'll X out. So it's those 4 for me, pretty heavy. As much as I can fit in. Like I said, I'm going to be pretty heavy from this 9,500 to 7,500 range based off what I'm looking at here with my lineup. So I'm going to be heavy on those 4 guys. I will say that.
Yeah, I'm definitely. So yeah, I think I would definitely rank them even price considering Morikawa number 1 in this range. He grades out so well for me off the tee as far as accuracy, greens and regulation, like Snyder said. And I have proximity buckets inside of 12 feet, 18 feet, and 24 feet, and he's beating the field by 10% every round. He's kind of in the same boat almost as Scheffler, but he's kind of losing strokes around the green and not making a ton on the green. So I like Morikawa, and I kind of view this course, it's probably not a perfect comp, but like Concessions feels this way, where like it's pretty demanding off the tee, and the approaches are quite demanding as long as you're hitting the fairways, but you can make some birdies. And I think Morikawa does a very good job of getting it in play. And then his irons can be elite, and I think they've been elite for the last month. So Morikawa would be my favorite. I think Fowler's just playing great golf. I'm not worried about his course history. I'm going to light some Fowler dollars up this week, even at 9,500. I mean, it just seems like he's one of those guys that have turned a corner, almost like where JT has turned the opposite corner and gone downhill. Even as good as his ball striking has been at time to time, I think Fowler's just been on a different level, and there's confidence to back it up. So I would not be surprised to see Fowler win this event, or at least contend through into the weekend. I'm definitely out on Cantley. I'm definitely out on Spieth. I'll probably be out on Fleetwood as well. And then Hatton, I'm kind of torn on. I think Hatton has some good stats that, show him with some upside. He's obviously done great in these big field events like Bay Hill. But I'm a little torn. I'm not sure if he's the guy that I want to bank on at 9,700. I think the savings down to Morikawa makes a ton of sense. So, yeah, I would definitely rank them Morikawa, Fowler, Hatton, kind of 1, 2, 3. And then Hatton's kind of on the fringe. I might just go more Morikawa here. Maybe I can fit in an extra Scheffler lineup or something. So we can jump into the 8K range. So Snyder talked about there's Sam Burns down here, down at the low 8s, Bermuda Burns. We can talk about him here in a second, but it's honestly another good range. It's really, if you don't even look at pricing, like these guys rate as well as some of the 9K guys, especially this year. So I think there's a lot of upside in this 8K range, and that goes to Lox's point of building balance. It can make a lot of sense. I mean, you could probably find the top 5 guys that finish in this 8K range potentially. So Snyder, I'll start with you. 8K range, again, kind of a smallish range. I think we got 10 guys here. Who are your favorites to target? Are you playing hot hands? Are you going to go for some ownership leverage? What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I'm going to start off with Burns here. I got the outright on him. I think he's the best price per dollar play on the board this week. Also, 8,100's a really good price tag for him. He finished second here a couple years ago, 20th last year. And last week, it looks like he had things going in the right direction. Top 15 last week. I like the way Burns is kind of transitioning into these playoffs here. So definitely will be on some burns this week. And then another guy I think is going to go a little under the radar is Max Homa. I'm seeing him under 10% owned, and he's actually starting to come into his own the last 3 events, 21st, 12th, and 10th in his last 3 events. He doesn't have the greatest course history here, but I like the ownership on him. He's a guy that can hit greens in regulation. He's gaining strokes across the board last 36 rounds, so I definitely like some Homa at 8.8K. I'll be off fee now. If Fitzpatrick's going to be sub 10%, I think I may take some sprinkles on him. He's got some of the best course history on the board here. A 5th, a 6th, and a 4th in 3 of his last 4 years. Enters in pretty bad form, but maybe he sees a little bit of a motivation after watching his brother get a win not too long ago. I think last weekend his brother won. So maybe
this last weekend. Yeah.
I might light the fire under him. So I'll probably play him some. I think those are my 2 favorite plays. Will be Burns and then Homa, and then I'll have a little bit of Fitzpatrick mixed in. Not going to play Im, not going to play Young. Probably won't play. Harmon's a fine guy. I think this actually is a pretty good course setup for him. He did finish 3rd here last year. He can find the fairway off the tee. He's good with the approach there. He can get the putter rolling. So I think Harmon's a fine guy. I mean, you don't need to be very long off the tee here. It's mainly finding the fairways and kind of being patient here. I think it kind of sets up to his game. So maybe I just talked myself into a little bit of Harmon as well.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, he's been playing some pretty good golf. Even if you take out the win at the British Open, he would probably be even more popular this week if he hadn't won. In a certain sense, people can definitely hype it up in their head that he's not going to be as interested had he finished like 8th. So, yeah, I like those thoughts. There's definitely some interesting plays here. I think most of them are going to be pretty closely owned. I see a couple guys kind of in the high teens, and that's probably it. So there's not really any crazy low-owned guys necessarily, and no crazy high-owned guys just for a mid-range like this. So, Locks, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, this is a range I like a lot. I'll mention the guys I won't play first because there's less people I won't play. Just looking at it right away, I'm going to X out Jason Day. I'm going to X out Finau, Fitzpatrick, and Matsuyama. Those are the 4 guys I'm not going to play here. Everyone else in this range, I actually do have a lot of interest. Like I said, I'm going to be building a lot here. So I have a ton of interest in Burns, Cam Young, and Harmon. Those are probably 3 of my favorite here. I like the Homa call by Snyder, so I'll be playing a decent amount of him. And then Wyndham Clark, this guy this last half of the year has just looked so solid and just continues to look solid. So I can't cross his name off. I think he contends here as well in the first leg of the playoffs. And then Sungjae is a guy that I think is going to come in really low owned. Played a lot better last week and really hasn't been playing as bad as he's been finishing, I don't think, personally. So I'll sprinkle in a little bit of him as well just because he's going to come in sub 10%. At a field like this, that's a guy I'm willing to take a stab on under 10% here that I think can easily finish in the top 10, 15 for us.
Who was that?
Sungjae.
Okay, yeah. He could fit the golf course. Doesn't look great of late, but last week was a little bit better. I'll tell you the guy that I think will be interesting. I don't know where his ownership is going to shake out, but I want to take some stabs on Mr. Cameron Young at 8,200.
Yep.
Definitely by far my favorite play is Wyndham Clark. 8,500 for him. He's had some time to let the U.S. Open cool down. He went overseas, played the British Open. All things considered, played pretty solid in my opinion. And now he gets to get into the FedEx Cup playoffs. So maybe he shifts his goals a little bit. Like maybe this is a very motivational time for him to kind of capitalize on a huge year because we don't, not many guys get this opportunity. You see these guys like McIlroy get this opportunity every year. Not many guys will say Wyndham Clark is, just slightly above average as of now, get this opportunity to really crank out a really big finish in the FedEx Cup playoffs and kind of secure yourself for the next 10 or 20 years possibly. So I do like Wyndham Clark quite a bit. Cameron Young, I want to take a shot on. I think Homa is fine actually. I was looking through his, you talk about his Bermuda. I don't think he's really that much worse on Bermuda than he is on bent or any other surface. So I think Homa is definitely in play. especially at the price. Like I could see him finishing in the top 10, and at the price would be pretty sufficient. I think I'm just going to be there's some tough fades in here, just like guys you can kind of talk yourself into thinking there's upside. One of those for me is Hideki. Hideki's irons at times have been like crazy elite. And I've been playing a good fair share of him, but then he does nothing else. So you're just kind of like, oh yeah, well, that's really cool, man, that you had 8 shots inside of 12 feet and you made one of them and then you made a triple somewhere. So I think it's a tough fade, and I'm going to be out on Hideki. Fitzy, I haven't been playing much of him, and I'm cool fading Fitzpatrick here, and then Finau as well. Finau has not been great for the last month or so, and again, it's a range where you probably don't want to play everybody. You could definitely build balance and sprinkle all these guys in. They're all going to be around 15% owned. But for me, I really want to take a stand on Wyndham Clark at 8,500. Like, it feels like the Denny McCarthy play from last week, where I wouldn't say it's a lock for him to really contend and win, but at the price, there's so much upside and there's a lot of security at the price. Like, you're not spending 10K like or 9,500 like Fowler. Like, you could almost argue Fowler and Wyndham have had the same year in a sense. So you get $1,000 discount. Cameron Young, I think Cameron Young's a really interesting play this week. Obviously a golf course where approach matters, and he has not been doing that well, but he has turned the corner in his driving. He's obviously known for his driving. He's been picking up a lot of strokes off the tee. It doesn't take much for you to start, turning the corner on proximity. Brian Harmon, I think 8,300 makes a ton of sense, and that's pretty much it. Jason Day is kind of a question mark. I don't think he has the best course history. Snyder can correct me if I'm wrong. I think he has like a couple top 20s, and he has like a couple top 10s, it looks like. So not the worst, but
Burns is actually favored in him in the matchup markets, which is kind of interesting.
That is interesting. Yeah, I mean, I would probably feel pretty comfortable taking Burns over Day in that situation. So yeah, from that sense, you wouldn't play Day. You would play Sam Burns in a vacuum. So yeah, I think those are my 3 favorites. Wyndham Clark. Or I guess those are 4. Say it again. What do you say, Locks?
In a blanket.
In a blanket? Is that what I said, or did I say a vacuum?
No, I forget who started the in a blanket.
Yeah, probably Tony.
That's probably Tony.
I think it was.
So yeah, that's for me. Wyndham Clark number 1, Sam Burns 2, I'll say Harmon 3, Young 4, and then Homa as a 5, just kind of at the price. It's a weird spot for me to play him in Morikawa. So yeah, Wyndham Clark, top 5. Here we go. Don't forget to hit the like button. And I think we still have the promo going, right? So yeah, NFL 23. You can see that on the screen. Missed that, but now we have more viewers, so that's perfect. So yeah, you can use the code NFL23. It gets you 23% off any package. And that is for life. So it's not for the first month or anything like that. It's every single month as long as you keep the subscription live. So hit the like button. I'm reading the comments. If anything interesting pops up, drop your most interesting comment, and I might pull it up as long as it's not offensive to Locks or Snyder. Snyder, talk to me about this 7K range. Again, it's not a huge, it's 70 guys total, so it's not a huge range. We're certainly going to play some Russell Henley, I think, off of last week. But let me hear your thoughts here. Is Lucas Glover back in play?
Yeah, Henley's fine. I think he's one of the top 3 guys in fairways gained off the tee, hitting fairways this year. So I think he's fine. I don't think that his shorter distance off the tee will really be too big of an issue here this week. Kind of like I said with Harmon there, I think he's a fine play. He may get kind of steamed up there as one of the more popular values, it kind of looks like. I don't mind him. I like Tom Kim maybe a little bit more than Henley this week. I think Kim's kind of starting to round everything back in. Yeah, he did have the injury overseas, but he's had a couple weeks to kind of lay off that. Maybe he's healthy now. I can't think it's any worse, I wouldn't think. I mean, and he does have a pretty good course history here. Always played here once, I guess, but finished 13th last year. I think he's got a good upside play right there. I mean, Keegan in these no-cut events, he's boom or bust. I mean, I wouldn't be playing crazy amounts of him. I do like some Sepp Straka here, though. I mean, he's got a ton of upside. He won the John Deere, was second in the Open, and then he was second here last year as well. So Sepp Straka is a guy who's been hitting fairways at a high clip too. 72% fairways gained last 36 rounds, so definitely in on some
sub 10% probably as well in this range for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, Straka versus Henley. If Straka's going to be half the ownership of Henley, I'd rather probably play Straka there. I think that's fine. Connors just kind of feels like a Connors track. Hasn't really played the greatest here, but I think he's finished inside the top 40 his last 4 trips here, which is fine. I don't know if I'll get it. Depends on his ownership of whether I play him or not. Denny right here off the double flop leg now.
Yeah.
Of course, with
Give me my money back.
yeah. Do we go right back to Denny at what could be under 10% now off of the double flop leg where he just burned people not only at the Open where he was chalk last week, he was quite popular. I think he was like 35% in some contests last week. So I'll go back to some Denny this week.
What was the key approach range this week, Snyder? What was the key approach range? Like 150 to 175?
150, 175, and 175 to 200 is where about 50% of the shots come from.
Well, that's not great. Yeah, Denny's losing about a little over a quarter of a shot on every shot inside of 175 to 200 yards.
Maybe we just X him again.
Well, it depends on his ownership. I mean, we talk about flop lag, and then he gets steamed up, and now everyone plays him.
I would definitely rather play Denny over Glover this week, though. It looks like Glover.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer. But like him right next to Connors, like that's tough, dude. Connors has been so consistent, and I feel like he's less heartbreaking. He probably doesn't get the win done as much. I guess McCarthy hasn't either. But
I found another guy that I think I'm going to play over Denny. It's a guy who's made the most birdies this year on tour in a no-cut event where you need all these birdies. Stephen Yeager has actually been playing well. He's I think 30 birdies more than the next guy or something like that. So I like Yeager at under 10%. I like Cameron Davis under 10%, who's coming into form here, 17th at the Rocket Mortgage, 10th at the 3M, and then 7th last week. He's played his way right into the playoffs, so I think he's a guy under 10% that can carry that mojo going forward. 13th here last year. Grillo's a guy, I think he'll get talked up. I think Grillo ends up turning into one of the higher owned guys in the range come Wednesday and Thursday morning when the cards get flipped over. 7,100 is a great price for his upside. He's definitely been putting lights out this year. So if he can keep the putter rolling, I think he's a solid option there. Then I think Harris English I think Harris English should be like 3 to 5% ownership this week. I think he's like a sneaky guy here who finished 4th here a couple years ago. I think English is a sneaky GBP type play that I'll have in the pool. Maybe a guy I play like 10 to 12% of, get 2x the field on him. Not enough to like really hurt you, but you got the upside with him there at least.
Yeah, we kind of talked about him last week because he was playing so good into the summer and right into the Travelers, and he finished T60. The Open, he missed the cut, which doesn't not too surprising. And then last week we talked him up, gained pretty good on approach, just about even off the tee, and which is a golf course you can't really gain much off the tee anyways. And then finished T33 last week. So yeah, I think Harris is definitely going to be in the player pool for this week. This is a pretty good range that has tons of upside and a lot of heartbreak as they finish 64th on Sunday. But Locks, any thoughts here? I assume there's some overlap with Snyder. I mean, there's certain plays in this range that definitely stand out as probably the best, and then it's really just a matter of do you want to just buy into the ownership, or do you want to take a more strategic approach and try to take some contrarian guys, which there's plenty of those too that are kind of fringe plays as well.
I think I'm leaning towards the latter there. Honestly, there's some guys here that I think I'm going to have as big fades. I'll name a few of them. I'm off of Henley. I'm not going to play him this week. I'm off of Corey Connors. I'm off of Keegan Bradley, and I'm off of Lucas Glover. Those are 4 big names I think that are gaining a lot of ownership here that I'm going to be pretty much not playing at all. I think as far as I'm leaning right now. I'm not going there. I'm going to get a little contrarian here because there's a lot of names I think that are solid. Tom Kim and Straka right up top in this range I think are absolutely amazing plays here. Both finished well here last time out. I just think they're playing great golf, tee to green. They're going to contend here. I mean, they're going to both be – I could see both in the top 10. Another guy I want to mention – and I'm fading Thigala too. That guy's just been awful lately, so there's no reason to even have him in the pool.
I'm surprised you even brought him up.
But, yeah, there's no reason.
We were just excluding him.
I wanted to mention everybody for you. Corey Connors, I'm not playing him. I mean, if you want a guy that's finishing 30th or 35th, have at it, but I'm good there. And then Benny On and Denny McCarthy, I'm going to be super heavy on. Tee to green wise, solid. Denny McCarthy, not so much. Hopefully he can turn that around here. I know he's going to come in like a quarter of the ownership he was last week, so I'm going to throw him in there and be a contrarian there. I'm okay with it. So I'm not going to get off of it. I'll try to get my money back with him, or he'll just burn more. I'm not really sure, but I'm going to roll with it. Go big or go home there. And then I'm with you guys. Jaeger, I love the call. Absolutely love Jaeger. I love English. Aaron Rye is a guy I want to mention that I'll probably play a little bit of in my Scheffler and McIlroy builds. And then JT Poston, too, is just playing such good golf. I mean, I don't know if I can really X his name out right now. Just super.
He's my favorite play. He's my favorite play. I never played Poston. And then he actually – did he lose strokes putting last week, or he barely gained? Like the guy that – Yeah, so I think he was actually losing strokes through 2 rounds last week, and then he started picking up a little bit on the weekend. Yeah, I think Poston's my favorite play. This seems like a perfect Poston course.
Yeah, and there's a lot of guys down here too that I like, which is going to force me actually to want to play some of those higher end guys. But like I said, these are just guys I'll play with my Scheffler McIlroy builds, but I'm leaning a more balanced build.
Yeah, there's just so much upside here. I mean, you're Xing out Corey Connors, who's a lock for T30, which could be good, depending on the contest you're in. I think I'm going to play some Connors. I think he can turn it around on some Bermuda, and his proximity numbers have been pretty good. So I'll stick with some Corey Connors. There's not many guys that like scare me from a fade, but there's definitely guys that like hurt your heart a little bit when you fade them and they finally have the week. And Corey Connors is one of those guys. This will be the week he finishes, T3, and it's like you're just sitting there on Sunday, awful. So yeah, I'm good with Connors. Benny On, like you mentioned, Stefan Jaeger, totally fine with it. Yeah, Poston's my favorite play in this range. 7,300 for him. Last 3 events, he's finished. Let me go back to the John Deere. He's gone 6th place, 41st at the Open Championship. Again, an event you wouldn't think he would play very well at anyways. To make the cut, I think it would be a win in his mind and probably his caddy's mind. And then he comes right back to the States at the 3M and finished 2nd, and then last week 7th. Again, a golf course. He finished 20th here last year. I like Poston a ton. I think Poston's actually, his ball striking has been improved. Typically, Poston's just known for having a hot putter. Like his ball striking's average, and then he gets the hot putter, and then he gets it cranking. So Poston 7,300, sign me up. I'll have some Denny McCarthy as a flop flag. We'll see what the ownership shakes out as, but I doubt it gets crazy. Corey Connors, I do like the play at 7,600. He just seems so consistent. And that's all I kind of want down here. Like, yeah, you want some upside in a no-cut event, but there's a certain level of, like, risk tolerance. And I think Corey Connors has a pretty strong floor. I joked about 30th, but, like, I do think his floor is probably, like, in the 20th place, 25th place position. So the guy that I'm kind of tentative on is Tom Kim. I think Tom Kim's going to get super high owned. And I think at the price, it makes sense to play him. But I think if he's going to get so popular, there's not enough pivots I can make in other spots to kind of get off of like a 20-25% on Tom Kim. I think he's going to be really steamed up off his last 2 finishes. And I'm not totally sold off of one event here that this is a perfect Tom Kim course. So that could be one of those. Again, there's certain guys that, hurt more when they do well when you fade them. And Tom Kim has not burned me yet on the good side. So I'm feeling a little bit more lenient.
If he's 25%, I don't think I would play him either.
No. I think he's going to be over 20. I think he's going to be over 20%. That'd be my take. So, that's pretty much it. Yeah, Denny is just a sprinkle. But, yeah, I think Corey's a solid spot. JT Poston, my favorite. Definitely in on Stefan Jaeger, like you guys talked about. And Harris English, you talked about. Yeah, Harris English, again, I think is a guy that's going to get overlooked. And I do like that there. That should do it pretty much for the 7K range. The other guys I didn't mention, I'm probably Sahith definitely out. Keegan, I don't see that really turning around quickly on this golf course. No. And I think that's it. Yeah, Lucas Glover, I'll probably just wait there's no point kind of chasing that at the price with other guys. So let's go down into the 6K range. So you guys can break it out however you want. Like I said, I think the high sixes is actually like a playable range, and the low sixes is definitely like a 150 max. You're sprinkling in a few guys and, seeing if they finish in the top 12 or something like that. But I do think this top 6K range is arguably a 7K range type of plays. So I'll start with you, Snyder. Let's break it out. Let's say high sixes, and then we can kind of just sprinkle in some guys that, unless you just love a low 6K guy. But let's talk about the high sixes. I think these guys are definitely live for a top 10. And if you can get them right in the big GPP, that will be the key to success this week.
Yeah, I think there's some decent guys here. Eric Cole's been playing solid golf. I mean, he's a guy. It wouldn't surprise me if he finished top 20 here or so. I'll probably have a little bit of him. I've pretty much played him about every event he's teed it up. He's been a super consistent cut maker, which won't be needed here, but I think he's got a decent upside and decent floor for that price tag there. Probably won't be on. I'm not going to play Hadwin. I'm not going to play Dietrich. I'm not going to play Smalley.
No flop black Smalley? No flop black Smalley?
I didn't play him last week, so I don't think I'm going to get there this week. But I think Todd, this is a decent track for Todd. He's off of a couple of decent starts there. Second at the John Deere, 7th last week. This is a track that I think could suit his eye. He finished 15th here back in 2020. He's a guy that's hitting 75% of the fairways off the tee. So I think this is a good opportunity for him.
He's going to miss the cut.
Yeah, he could. I mean,
I'm kidding.
There's no cut, Snyder. Can you elaborate, Snyder? How could he miss this cut?
by withdrawing.
That would be a way to miss the cut. Yeah.
That's the only thing. I mean, if you've got a guy that withdraws here, I mean, you're just drawing.
Ooh, I'm gonna bet
that. We don't.
Burger's not here, so we're safe. I think we're safe. The only I hate to put jinx on anybody, but the only withdrawal risk is really Justin Rose and Jason Day. I think those are the only two guys that I feel like could withdraw. So
definitely
hot tip. If you're worried about WDs in your main lineup, don't play one of those two.
Good call. Unknown. Decky
too. Yeah, Decky's good.
Yeah, he could. I think I really do like one guy here in like the mid 6K range. He's got good course history here. Finished 5th last year and then 2nd a few years ago on this track. Andrew Putnam at 6,400. He's been playing some solid golf. He was top 30 last week. He's been making, I think he's made like 9 of his last 10 cuts or something like that. He's been playing solid, consistent golf. I hope he doesn't get steamed up too much down here. I mean, there's a chance, I think, that he could maybe see double-digit ownership, but that's fine. I like the upside that Putnam brings. It's been putting the ball really good so far, too. So I think he's fine down here. Not too many other guys. I mean, if you wanted to play Ben Griffin, he's kind of been boom or bust at times. 6,100, I think he's a better talent than 6,100. So maybe go to him a little bit. If I was playing like a Scotty ROM build or something like that, I'd probably put in one of these punts down here. And then Sam Ryder is a guy who's got a little bit of upside. He's got some birdie upside like we saw at the 3M. I don't know if I'll get there or not, but if you're looking for a stone punt, I think he's fine. But I'd rather play like Griffin or Putnam for sure for a cheapie down here. But up top, I think Cole is a solid play and Todd's really solid. I don't see myself really getting to many of these other guys as I kind of like the low 7Ks. I think I can end a lot of my teams there.
Yeah, that's my whole point. Like, I think there's such a big drop off in that low sixes that I don't really see myself even wanting to sprinkle much in because you feel like you're just burning lineups when you could just pivot up, especially if you have the salary. Like if you're leaving salary to get down there, that's a huge mistake in my opinion. So
definitely.
The high sixes, there's a lot of guys. So hopefully you guys cover all the guys. So I don't sound like I'm just railing off all the guys that are in the high sixes. So Locks, what are your thoughts here in the, we'll just give you the whole 6K range. Hopefully there's nobody in the low sixes you're in love with.
No, there ain't a ton of guys I'm really in love with here at all. I have to be for the lineups that I'm going to have a few where I have McIlroy and Scheffler together, like I said. So I'm going to have to be down here and liking some of these guys in a few of those lineups. So I'll really start at the bottom and work my way up since we didn't talk about many of these guys. Nick Taylor's a guy I'll throw in there at 6,200. Wouldn't mind to sprinkle in a little bit of him in those lineups. Brandon Wu's been playing solid. Another dude I would mention. Andrew Putnam, I think, is probably my favorite play down here. I'm with you, Snyder. I just think, consistent cut maker, which, that doesn't matter here, but he's playing great golf. Finished 5th here last year. So, why not play a guy like that at $6,400 with 70 guys in the field? I'm okay going there. I could see him contending again. Patrick Rodgers, I'm kind of torn. Maybe you can lean one way or the other, Drew, but I'm not really sure what I want to do with him. And as far as anybody else going up, I might sprinkle JJ Spawn, but probably not. And then really it's just a lot of Alex Smalley and Eric Cole for me. Those are my 2 favorite plays down here. I like Alex Smalley here, actually, and then I'm going to be playing a lot of Eric Cole. I've liked him all year, and I'm not going to jump off now.
Yeah, I actually do like some JJ Spawn. I talked about him last week and didn't really, crush it, obviously. But I think Spawn's an interesting GPP play because he comes out of nowhere. He'll first round lead it, then he'll just finish the top 12 or something like that, and that's all I kind of want from a guy in the 6K range. So, yeah, these guys do have upside. There's no cut, so they have 4 days to kind of capitalize on some scoring and make some birdies. And obviously Eric Cole is probably the best play down here as far as making a lot of birdies, at least this season. I think he's by far, surprisingly the next best over the last 10 events is Adam Schenk. And then a close second is Nick Hardy, surprisingly enough. But, I think Eric Cole, I think Smalley's a fantastic bounce back spot. His stats actually look really good. I'm very disappointed he played poorly last week, but I'm going to jump back to him here at 6,800. I do like Smalley on this golf course. I think Svensson can play fine. He continues some good play off of last week. I think he's definitely in play. Spawn, like I talked about, definitely in on Putnam. I like that call quite a bit. Lee Hodges looks okay on paper. Everything looks like he's checking a lot of boxes. He just doesn't keep it together for 4 rounds, which is disappointing, but he gets a guaranteed 4 rounds, so we could probably capitalize on his price tag here.
Coming off that dub, man. Come on now.
Who?
Lee Hodges.
Yeah, I'm going to play him.
Oh, all right. I thought you said
just saying,
another 4 rounds. I'm like, man, he just won.
Yeah,
that's 4 rounds, I think.
I think he's had more first-round leads than he's had, obviously wins. But, like the Amex last year, the dude was crushing it through 3 rounds.
I get what you mean.
Shot like he even par.
It's just funny saying that off of a win.
Yeah. No, he's fine. He's definitely checking a lot of boxes. 6,500. His ball striking stats are just phenomenal. So again, I can be a little bit more lenient. And then the last guy I wanted to mention, where'd he go? God, he was just right in front of me. Oh, Adam Hadwin. So if you want to talk about flop lag season, Adam Hadwin would be the prototypical triple flop lag, I think. So he actually –
I don't mind that call.
Yeah, he's just like – dude, so it's like some of his proximities are way better than even some of the 8K guys.
This is one of the events. This is one of those events he just randomly top 5s. Like it's –
I can see it. I like I like some Adam Hadwin. Honestly, outside of – he's gaining in every single – distance except for 150 to 175 over his last 7 events. So yeah, Adam Hadwin. He's only made 3 of his last 7 cuts, I think. 4 of his last 7 cuts, and
he'll be very low.
Adam Hadwin. He should be. Honestly, all these 6K guys will be relatively
the Adam
low.
Hadwin segment.
When he wins, finishes top 5, I'll take it. Yeah, I think that's it, guys. Like I said, I'll be truthful. I don't like the low 6Ks. I don't see any way I'm playing any of these guys. I don't see them as like a leverage spot. Everyone gets 4 rounds, so you're not getting some sleeper that makes the cut at 1% owned. Honestly, what's the lowest owned guy going to be down here? I guess 1%, Matthew DeSmith. So there you go. There's your 1% guy. He gets 4 rounds for you. So any good comments? Let's see if I missed anything. Yeah, Rose feels like a trap. Yeah, him and Day. Like Day off of a good finish at the Open Championship definitely feels like a trap. And then Svensson. Yes, I'm Svensson. So I think that'll do it. Anything else, Snyder? Anything else we need to cover? You want to do bets? What do we want to do?
We could do an outright if you want. Yeah, I already mentioned a couple I've made already. I'll go with Sam Burns 35-1 to win the event. as my outright. I do have the Morikawa one in pocket as well at 25-1. I really don't like any long shots here this week. I think the cream's going to rise to the top here. Definitely. If I was going to bet one of the top guys like Scotty or Rory or Rahm, I would wait and try and get them in tournament. Maybe they're a few back going into the weekend or something. You could get at least double-digit odds on them or something. But I think a number that kind of jumped out to me as well, I may bet, just throw a little bit of pizza money on it, is Matthew Fitzpatrick at 40-1. He's got 3 finishes inside the top 6 here. Not the best for him, though, but maybe if I don't play him in DFS, maybe I'll throw like $20 on him or something to outright to have a little possible sweat there. But yeah, if you haven't already, hit the like. Really helps us out a lot. Use that promo code NFL23 for 23% off. We've gotten a lot more surprises and stuff coming forward as NFL comes.
You know, the craziest number I see, you guys talk about Putnam. Putnam's 120-1 on FanDuel, 110-1 on DK, but like relative to other guys priced around him, like he's the same price basically as Sahith.
Oh.
He's a better price than Alex Smalley, Dietrich, Eric Cole, Svensson, Chris Kirk, Patrick Rogers. Dude, just go down the list, and Adam Putnam is getting some love from the sportsbook. So 120-1 Putnam, interesting. That might put him firmly in play for DFS. Just off of that right there. Yeah, as far as bets, I guess I'll just do a guy I think can win, and then like a long shot, I guess. Morikawa, 20-1, 22-1. Looks like on DK. I'll take that. I think Morikawa is playing good golf, and he can finish off a win against this field. Long shot wise, try to be a little bit more creative. I'll take Poston. JT Poston is 80-1 on FanDuel. 80-1. That's crazy.
Okay.
Locks, what are your thoughts? Yeah, 80-1. I'm just going down the board.
Yeah, that's solid.
I mean, he's right there with Aaron Rye, almost.
I was looking at Morikawa with you, but I'm going to go with Tommy Fleetwood. Tee to green wise, I mean, he's playing stellar golf this year, honestly. And I think he could pick up. He hasn't won on PGA Tour, has he? Snyder?
John Rahm?
I don't believe so.
I think he might pick up his first PGA Tour dub here in the first leg of the playoffs. I mean, just playing really solid golf, putting it well too. So just a guy I want to have a decent amount of this week. I can see him pulling it off. And then my long shot's going to be Stefan Jaeger. I don't have the odds up. What is he at? If he's not a long shot, I'll re-choose. But
you can get Jaeger at 90-1 is the best number I see. You can get 30 on Fleetwood too, which is another tasty number.
That's a tasty number too. But I like Jaeger as my long shot. I think he's live to win and top 5 if possibly. I think he's going to be up there personally.
I had a complete brain fart. We'll have to clip that one for sure. I see Michael Knack said Rahm winning this, and then you said he hasn't won on the PGA Tour yet, right? And I said Rahm. Oh God, you're talking about Fleetwood. Damn, that's terrible. Yeah,
Rahm hasn't won.
Yeah, Rahm hasn't won yet. Maybe this year. It doesn't count the Masters. I'm not sure. I think he won like 4 times, right? Earlier before the Masters. So definitely.
Yeah, he's won a few times for sure.
He's just been he hasn't really played any since the Masters. He's played like twice.
He's played really well in the majors. So he was second at the Open, 10th at the U.S. Open, and then won the Masters.
I don't think Rahm Morikawa would be chalk.
No, I don't think so.
No, it won't.
Rahm will probably be the only stud under 20% when you're talking Scotty, Rory. I think they'll be 20-25. I think Rahm will be like 17-20. I think Rahm will be higher in the higher stakes, though.
Yeah, right now I see, just browsing, Rahm is higher owned than both Scotty and McIlroy, but I could see that shifting as people actually build. So I can see why he would think that'd be chalk, because Rahm shows he's the most popular play over 10K right now. But I don't see how that's possible. I just see people clicking McIlroy or Scheffler if you're going to spend 11K. For sure. So all right, I'll round it around or go around with any final thoughts. Snyder, what are your final thoughts here, or did I miss anything? But yeah, definitely football's right around the season, so definitely use NFL 23. Snyder, take it away.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think we covered everything well here tonight. We'll have all the content up over on Run Pure Sports. I think I'll have I will have the playbook up tonight. Cash chart will be up. We'll have the core plays trickling in tomorrow. Locks will have his stuff up. Drew will have his stuff up. Then we'll have showdown content from the three of us, kind of going Thursday, Friday, Saturday into the showdown here, which I think there's going to be some really good contests for these next 3 weeks for showdowns going forward as well as we lead into football.
Yeah, and with not really a low point, obviously MLB is going pretty strong and plenty of other sports that the guys at RPS have been crushing, but they have a Millie Maker already posted for next week. So you could probably hop into some satellites this week if you guys want to win a 4K Millie ticket. It's not the worst thing in the world, especially in a no-cut event. You're pretty much live for 4 days as long as you don't just pick 6K guys for 6 guys. Locks, any final thoughts here for the FedEx St. Jude Championship? And I will say there doesn't look like there's a ton of weather, so just stay in the Discord and we'll talk about it. It does look like it's pretty calm Thursday morning and picks up, but that could just be up all day, and that might not be much of anything. So just keep an eye on the weather. It doesn't look like it's going to be close to 20 miles per hour on Thursday at least. Yeah,
and that's what I was going to say is the weather actually looks pretty darn good for the whole week. So there's not really much to pay attention to. Just pick your spots, trust your gut. That's what I always say. You know what I mean? Anytime you're kind of teetering, just go with your first instinct. It's always the best way to go. So, pay attention to Discord. We'll update you any sudden withdrawals or anything like that. And everybody, let's run beer.
One more thing. One more thing. We just had JBC, the best MME player on the planet, join, and he's been very active in Discord answering everybody's questions. And Big T's got his sheet up. Really nice, everything in one spot. He's got all his information up there, and then Big T puts his player pool and JBC's player pool on there. The guys are over and under for all sports. So I think that's a huge addition with the best player in the world right now, JBC, coming on board.
Yeah, and I mean, you could get super creative with that. Like I was thinking about that on Sunday when they had NASCAR. They had their over-under, field. They matched the field with ownership. And you could take that right into Sabre instead of min and max. You could say min for any of those that they're under the field instead of for 0 or 5 or something like that. And then the max, you could do like double the field. And then you could get a nice range of lineups. And they're pretty much in line with both Tony and JVC. So it creates a lot of transparency and kind of helps you build lineups and not just blankly running projections. So helps out quite a bit even for optimizers. And if you're not building 150, it helps with 20 max. You could build 5 lineups with that same player pool and have a pretty nice assortment of projected ownership that you're not going to just kind of eat into the chalk or play some scrub that's 5K minimum or something like that. So no final thoughts for me. It's interesting for lineup construction. So yeah, don't be afraid to both build some lineups that are top heavy. You play with Scotty and McElroy, or you build just straight balance and you skip the entire 10K range. We've seen sub 10K lineups starting sub 10K win Millie Makers before. Obviously, it's not a Millie Maker this week, but you could definitely see some big field GPPs be won with a very balanced lineup, getting all 6 guys inside the top 10. So that'll do it from us. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hit the like button on the way out. Snyder, get us out of here.